for the black label. Alright guys, so I ended up triple filtering it with this cloth filter, and as you see, you get about a little more than half of the coffee you put, of the volume of liquid you put in to when you cold press. So now I have all three blends, the Papua New Guinea, the black label, and the Sidamo all filtered. So the next step obviously is sanitizing all the bottling equipment and then taking a gravity reading of the beer after it's been in secondary with the cocoa nibs for about 8.5 days. Alright guys, so what we have here is our sample. I took a pretty big gravity sample. If I need a little bit more for the coffee tasting, I'll definitely do so, but let's get the final gravity of this beer. Again, it's going to be, I didn't get my numbers to begin with, so it's going to be around 5% or a little over than that. So it finished out at about 1.022-ish. Just about. So it went down just a tiny bit, the first amount. But I'm going to go check the temperature, get the temperature correction, and come back with the actual gravity. Alright guys, so with the temperature correction, as you see here, it's at about, when I did the temperature correction, it was 1.023, and I was searching for 1.016. So it's pretty off, but not crazy. So now it's at 5.12% alcohol. So it'll be diluted a touch by the coffee, but at 5%, it's a pretty darn good breakfast stout. You know, if it's 5% instead of 6%, you know, next time I know what to do differently to make sure that my yeast behaves and ferments down all the way. But for now, it should be a pretty drinkable beer. Alright guys, so here we have the beer. I have two 4-ounce samples. At first I'm going to test the two bigger blends, and if I don't like them enough, I'll go to this one that I don't have that much of, because I really don't want to test a blend that I'm not going to have enough of to transfer into the beer to begin with. So what I have here is a teaspoon measure. So what I'm going to do is, I'm first of course going to take a sip of the beer, get my palate wet with the flavor of the beer, and then I'm going to first test the black label by putting a teaspoon at a time in and seeing when I have to stop, when I get enough beer flavor, coffee flavor into the beer, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the Sidamo, and so I know how many per thing. So, first, let's go for the taste of the beer. Cheers. Definitely smoothened out a lot between a little over a week ago and now. It doesn't have as much ester. There's a lot more. It's not like extremely chocolatey because of the cocoa nibs, even though the majority of the cocoa nibs did sink into the beer. I think what it did was it rounded out the chocolate flavors that are already there, and with the aging for 8 days, it the beer kind of toned down a little bit of the harshness and esters that I found in the primary. So I'm going to go ahead, and actually it is pretty darn chocolatey. So I'm going to go ahead and take a teaspoon of the black label, and I'll put this glass aside for now so I don't mix the two up. But 1 teaspoon, or a little bit more than that because it didn't fill it all the way. That's one, I'll count that as 1 teaspoon for now. I'll swirl the beer up. Oh wow, 1 teaspoon is definitely enough. Yeah, totally changed the aroma. 1 teaspoon, a little more than a teaspoon. Now it's like fruity, chocolatey. Oh, it smells really good. Yeah, that's really nice it really complements the beer really well. Might even need less than that. I think for the other beer I'm going to try a half a teaspoon, because this one, that 1 teaspoon, you can still smell the beer below it, but the coffee flavor is really strong there. It adds like this really fruity flavor. That's pretty nice. I think with carbonation it'll be a little creamier, but it's a pretty nice, really fruity beer. Almost tastes like it has blueberries in it. 1 teaspoon or a little less than a teaspoon is more than enough for that one. Alright, so let's go on to the next one. Put the black label aside so we don't mix the two up. Go on to the Cinnamo. And the little less than 1 teaspoon. Actually, you know what? I'll equal it out. Let's swirl it around. Very similar. Zach, when he sent it to me, they said that Pablo's coffee that be very similar. Not really much of a difference, actually. Let's just compare the two. It's pretty much exactly the same. I think I'm just going to go with the black label and go from there and see how it tastes when it carbonates. This is going to end up being a really interesting beer, like chocolatey and very fruity. I kind of really like it. I'm not 100% sure if these are the right blends specifically. I might have, if I could go back, I'd probably choose a roastier blend, but I think for a breakfast stout, this is pretty nice. Alright guys, so I scaled it up, and it's said to do about 14.5 ounces, and since I thought the 1 teaspoon was a little overpowering, what I'm going to do as the siphon now comes to an end is take off the top and pour along the sides 10 ounces of coffee. And not oxygenate the beer too much. I'm going to pour in 10 ounces of coffee instead of 14, because I really didn't like how the coffee was really overpowering the beer, and so I just put 10 ounces instead of 14.5, and we'll see how that comes out as it ages. I know with like the first batch, the first experimental batch on any new equipment, on any new, me having not brewed for a while before this batch, you know, so it might not come out perfect, and yes, I didn't hit my numbers, but for the flavor, I still wanted it to taste good.